Hi everyone, Joe Ordia here for Solar Surge, and today we're coming to you from Intersolar North America 2024, which is the International Solar Conference here in San Diego. And this morning I'm joined by Chris Cashen from Mango Power, and we're going to be looking at the M battery. So Chris, it's really good to see you. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks for taking the time. Appreciate you coming out here. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, this is one of the reasons we come to the shows is because the audience, of course, wants to keep up with the latest solar technology. And of course, one of the biggest trends that we've been seeing in the industry over the past year is companies offering, I would say, as opposed to offering individual solar components, let's say a battery by itself, we're seeing more of an integrated or more of an all-in-one type of solution. And so I think the M battery or the M energy system kind of falls into that trend as well. Now when I think of Mango, at least for me personally, when I always think of Mango, I've thought of the smaller sort of portable solar power stations, something that like a do-it-yourselfer could do, or somebody just wants to buy a product ready to go off the shelf.
Right.
But now with looking at the M battery, this looks like more of a full home battery backup type solution like we're seeing from some of the other more established solar brands. So why did Mango choose to want to participate in this home backup space as well?
I think it was just a natural evolution from where we started with the home, like the portable solution that we have that also offers a small integration as more of an essential load backup, and then transitioning into offering a customers, a full catalog of wherever they want to fit in to what they're looking for. So it's kind of a one-stop shop. If you want the portable solution, we have that available, but also the ability to use that brand recognition or the trust we've built with that and establish a foothold in the whole home battery market.
Excellent. Well, as you know, we're here in California. As you know, storage is now mainstream. If we're talking solar in California, for a number of reasons, we don't have full one-for-one net metering buybacks anymore. There's also some pretty sharp price differences,
yes,
based on the time of day that energy is being consumed. And so, of course, having your home battery storage allows you to manage that much, much better as a homeowner. So let's kind of just run us through the basic specs on the product here. What are we looking at in terms of power and in terms of storage capacity?
Yeah, so definitely we wanted the architecture of the system was exactly like you said. We wanted an all-in-one product, simplified the installation process, simplified the commissioning process, and really wanted a product that is actually intended for all-in-one or whole home battery backup. So the cabinet here itself is a modular design, so it really lets the client and the customer choose the storage option that's right for them. So and also later on they can expand at any time. So the cabinet itself can hold 4 of our 5 kilowatt hour battery modules, which are from CATL. So they're familiar with the brand, the world's largest EV battery manufacturer, and they slide in on a racking style system. So it's lighter for the installer to position the cabinet and then later install the battery modules, kind of really alleviating that like heavy lift that you'll find in some of the other competitors, or getting lifting straps out on that side. So as we come to the inverter, it's 12 kilowatts continuous output or 50 amps continuous and 24 peak. So really designed for a 200 amp service. And then we have built into it the 200 amp pass-through breakers for your typical residential service. And then we also have the integrated 200 amp switching relays, or the automatic transfer or gateway, as it's often referred to in the industry. So really driving that all-in-one solution. And then as we look to the function or the functionality features that we have, they're able to incorporate their existing AC grid-tied system, or if they have a generator as well, that could be integrated in the system, and we're actually able to control the start and stop of the generator. So prolonging their fuel reserves on the generator, running it for a couple hours, recharging the battery, shutting it off, or even scheduling it at nighttime, say when there's noise violations. You can't have a generator running at nighttime. It'll run during the day, recharge, and then back to running on the battery. If we jump over to this side of the inverter, this is where we have the DC coupled PV input. So we have 3 MPPT inputs. The first is dual channeled, and the total utilization is up to 18 kilowatts of direct PV. But that can be combined with existing AC coupled, so they can have both a full solar setup, and then they can run their existing AC coupled or a generator, so it really allows them kind of to go completely off grid, which is kind of one of the other features that we have, where the system itself can run in an entirely off-grid mode without the requirement for grid power, and an internet connection only once every 45 days to maintain warranty. But in the event the internet is down for a prolonged period of time, the system will still run without any issues at all.
Well, that's big. Now
Yeah,
there's a lot we got to unpack there. So let's start with one of the first things that you mentioned is, so the battery itself. So basically the system has just two main components. You've got the inverter, which has the gateway, the transfer switching all built in to one enclosure, which we would call the inverter, but it's really the inverter and the transfer switching. And then you have the battery, or what we might more accurately call the battery enclosure, where you could have up to 4 battery storage modules. So each module is 5 kilowatt hours, so max 20 kilowatt hours for a single enclosure.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And then you have the option, if you want to expand beyond that, you can parallel the cabinets up to 80 kilowatt hours, up to 4 cabinets per single inverter.
Okay, great. Now, you also touched on another point, which was by having the modular battery design, you have a much lighter piece of equipment, so you can have a smaller installation crew. Because for you installers that are watching this out there, I know one of the issues that you're dealing with is how do you install batteries as quickly and as profitably as you can install solar only, grid-tied solar only. And so I think having the battery in a modular format where maybe just 1 or 2 guys could install it, as opposed to 3 or 4 guys that are needed, where you have like some of these batteries weigh 300 and 400 pounds, one piece of equipment. And then a lot of times with that, you have to have special lift equipment, right? You can't just lift it onto the wall. You have to have like a special, whether it be a forklift or some kind of a specialized cart that gets that battery in place. So it's a small thing, but I think it's a big thing worth mentioning, is having those modular battery units does actually help for speed of install and lowering the labor required for install.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would always recommend 2 people to do the installation. You definitely don't need more than that. The heaviest component that we have is 119 pounds. So you get the cabinet into position. It's a floor mount cabinet, and then the battery modules slide in one at a time. The other good thing about that is the customer starts with a 15 kilowatt hour system and they decide they want an additional 5 kilowatt hours of storage. You can add that in at any time. They can upgrade to that. So kind of the expandability there. And then the same with the inverter. It's 120 pounds, so you can lift it by hand with a crew of 2. And to speak to the installation time, even working with new installers, they're able to install and commission the system in under 4 hours, even on their first installation. So we're really able to drive revenue or drive that value add for the installers as well on the installation time.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this is an issue that we're going to be talking more and more about, guys, because I feel like the installers have gotten left behind in a lot of the conversation of this new battery technology. Because frankly, if the installers can't install these profitably, it doesn't matter how cool the battery is, nobody's going to be getting them because nobody's going to be wanting to offer it. So I'm glad you mentioned that. Now, a couple other things you touched on. Generator support. So guys, if you've been following the channel for a long time, one of the things that I talk about, for those of you who are looking for maximum redundancy in a battery backup system, then I recommend having a battery backup system that has a generator hookup option, not to where you want to plan to use the generator every day, but if you ever do end up in a situation where, let's say you have overcast weather for a week, the solar's not keeping up to recharge the battery, well, you have an option to fire up the generator, let the generator run for a few hours, bring the battery back full, and then you can go for running a couple more days off the battery alone. Especially if you guys are 100% off-grid, you really do want to have that generator backup option so that, again, bad weather doesn't mean you're going to be totally without power. Yes, there's a little bit of a fuel bill to pay, but at least you know you're not going to be without power regardless of the weather.
Exactly. Yeah, it's really building out that whole architecture of ensuring that you have support. There's a redundancy for a redundancy, if you will. Your battery backup, but then you have multiple charging options that are completely independent of the grid in the event that you need the battery backup for what it's intended for. Exactly.
Great. Okay, so now we also have the ability to AC couple onto existing solar. So if you're doing a retrofit storage, let's say you already have solar, you want to retrofit, add battery storage to it, you can take the AC output of your existing inverter or microinverters and land that here as well. So that's another option. But then it does have DC inputs for the MPPTs. You said 3 channels?
Yeah, exactly. So there's 3 MPPT channels. The first is a dual channel input, so it can accept 2 strings of the same number of panels in the same direction, and then it'll optimize them together. So with that, you can have 4 separate strings in total in terms of input, and the maximum utilization is up to 18 kW of direct DC coupled PV.
Great. So folks, again, this has been an introduction to the Mango Power, the M battery system, which really is it's a whole battery and solar system. You've got your inverter, up to 18 kilowatts of solar input per inverter. You've got the ability for generator hookup, the ability to AC couple for retrofit battery storage, full 200 amp whole house transfer switch or whole house pass-through for your battery backup. And then of course you've got the battery enclosure here with up to 20 kilowatt hours per battery enclosure. So Chris, when is this product going to be available for purchase and installation? If you're an installer, let's say an installer out there, where could they go about finding this?
So they can reach out to us directly. We already have inventory, throughout the U.S., so it's ready to be purchased at any time, I guess you say. Right now, we can work through a drop ship model, so we can deliver it right to the site of the customer, and that's typically what we've done so far. So everything comes palletized and separated right to the customer's house, and then you just show up to do the installation. It is going to be available through some of our distribution partners as well, and then we can link the list to all of them in the article or on the video.
So Chris, what can you tell me about the Mango Power app? How does the app work, and what features and functions are available for the system owner?
Yeah, so one of the great things about the app and kind of the commissioning process as a whole is that we've designed the Mango Power M to operate in more of a simplistic mode-based operation. So the unit comes pre-shipped in a self-consumption mode, so it's going to prioritize the solar production and then battery, and then finally using grid, so kind of saving the customer money with that. And then through the app, if the time of use billing, say in California or other markets that are introducing time of use billing, the customer just needs to go in the app and they can just change to the time of use mode, and they just enter their rate schedule, and then the batteries automatically, or the system as a whole, is going to look to prioritize discharging at the highest kilowatt hour rate, and then charge off-grid or on the off-peak hours if available, or using solar production basically. So really kind of future-proofing their electricity bill if they're not already on a time of use billing platform, or if they're on a time of use billing platform. It's very easy for the installer to set that up, and the commissioning process as a whole takes less than about 10 minutes basically. Really just turning the on, connecting the app to the Wi-Fi, and then the customer's ready to go.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you mentioned that, because again, that's one of the key things for allowing all of this technology to really reach its full potential, is making sure that the installers can be successful in their part of the business, because they're taking on a lot of the risk in all this. Now, I understand that you pre-manufacture the cables to connect between the battery and the inverter as well?
Yes, that's correct. So the system, again, kind of really hammering or driving that all in one. We provide all the cabling to go between our inverter and the battery cabinet, as well as all the communication cables, and then the internal battery cables as well to connect the batteries to the cabinet itself. The only thing the installer needs to provide is just the service wire, from the utility feed and then back out to the main distribution panel. So keeping it close to the system really can drive down and lower cost on their side as well.
Excellent, excellent. And I was actually able to see that there's a built-in rapid shutdown device in here as well. So again, one less thing for the installer to have to try to integrate, after the fact. Well, folks, again, this is the M battery solution from Mango Power. We'll get a link in the description down below for if you want to find some more information about the product. But that pretty much does it for today's video. As always, we thank you for spending some time with Solar Surge. As always, I'm Joe Ordia here, encouraging you to get prepared and be empowered. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.